Apple is pulling the plug on the AirPower wireless charger. Adrian Kingsley-Hughes is with us now to break this all down. And Adrian, it's not very often, of course, that Apple puts the brakes on one of their products. So what are the implications that you see for the company?
Well, the last time Apple pulled the plug on a product was the Copeland operating system back in the 90s. And back then, Apple was a very different company, and the tech world was a very different company. We didn't have so many people looking at a company and waiting for a product to come out. I think it makes Apple now like every other tech company, and I've made this argument a few times that this is what Apple really needs in many ways, is to just become another tech company. It doesn't need to be put on a pedestal. It doesn't need to be different to Amazon or Microsoft or Google. It is a tech company. It can make mistakes. I think the biggest problem it had with this one was how long it took to admit that AirPower just wasn't going to work, and it led people on for too long.
What are Adrian, the nuts and bolts of this? Why is it that they finally decided to pull the plug?
I think the project was just too ambitious for them. I've spoken to quite a few people involved in wireless charging and associated industries, and they think basically Apple just tried to make something that was very Apple, a pad that you could put all your devices down on and would charge. But in reality, it was a very difficult project, and it was made all the more difficult because Apple uses different wireless charging protocols between the iPhone and the Apple Watch. So even that made this idea of a unified charger much more difficult. But that said, Apple could change, and we could see AirPower appear at some point down the line in the future.
And you know, in theory, it sounds great. It seems like it would be really a nice thing for us just to be able to put everything on one charger. And you know, so when you think about all of the work that went into bringing this product or attempting to bring it to market, it makes sense that they would really want to make sure before they pull the plug. But why do you think they waited so long to do so?
Well, that's an interesting question. I wonder how long they spent on AirPower before it was it was first debuted back in 2017 in September at the iPhone X, iPhone 10 launch event. To spend another 18 months behind the scenes working on this, I would imagine that they were desperate to bring out a product. When there was the iPhone launch back in September 2018, I think they realized that there was an awful lot of eyes on AirPower, and they went through their website and tried to eliminate all traces of AirPower off their site. I think Apple just doesn't give up very easily, and I think to give up on what seemed to be a flagship wireless charger was a big stand down for a company like Apple.
Yeah, and you know, you touched on this earlier, Adrian, that Apple needs to be looked at and treated like any other tech company. So when it comes to developers and consumers, do you think that they will, you know, possibly now trust Apple less than in the past?
I think that may be. I think Apple's had quite a few trust black eyes lately. I think the whole battery gate and the iPhone throttling issues with iOS, I think made people realize that Apple makes decisions that maybe it doesn't fully think of the implications of down the line. I think it may make Apple a little bit more conservative about products that it unveils before they're actually ready to go to market. As far as developers are concerned, I think developers are always happy with a company if they can use them to make money. And the developers I'm speaking to with Apple at the moment, they break down into two sets. One, they're making good money and they're very happy, and then you've got the people who wish they were making more money. I think it might make people think, is Apple as infallible as we thought they were? But I think as long as the money keeps pouring in, and I think as long as Apple keeps coming out with new iPhones, I think everybody's going to be happy in the long run.
Indeed, Adrian. All right, well, we appreciate your thoughts on this. For more on Adrian's article, be sure to check out ZDNet.